What's going on, Titan Nation? What's going on, football fans? And we are going to get ready to get started in just a minute. As you can see on the graphic, we're going to be talking Titans and Giants, and it is ladies' night. So, for all my female football fans out there, I need y'all to come on in because it's y'all night. It's y'all night to shine. Fellas, y'all come on in too. But we all about the ladies tonight. So, if y'all listen to this show, share this out. Get all of your female Titan fans or any female football fans. Y'all come on in and join us. We're going to have a good time. And TNT tonight kicks off right about now. Good evening, Titan Nation. How's everybody Good evening, Titan Nation. How's everybody doing? Welcome in to a new episode of TNT Tonight. I'm your host, Chris, the Blue Enforcer, aka The Truth. And we have an exciting show for you tonight. So make sure y'all do share this show out. And you see it on the ticker at the bottom. You have the Titans and Truth main page. Make sure you follow that. Also, make sure you follow the TNT Enforcers page and also follow on Instagram at Titans_N_Truth and on Twitter at TNT Blue Enforcer. And also, super chats and donations are also appreciated as well. If y'all are enjoying the show, you're helping me and with the show, and we're going to make sure we bring the very best content for you. And as I stated before, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed ladies' night. So, ladies, I know some of y'all out there in Facebook world and in Instagram world are probably wondering what the heck is going on. But it's y'all night. I want y'all to come on in here to kick back, relax as we talk some football, and let's get right into it. So, we're talking Titans and Giants, and pro football is back. Also on the Truth League report, I just did that. I've been doing all the divisions. I still got to do the NFC East, the AFC, and NFC West. I will have those out before kickoff tomorrow because we know the season starts tomorrow. So we're definitely going to have those ready to go. So definitely go check out the Truth League report as well on the TNT page. And also, I'm a part now of the Man Hour Radio Network. So definitely shout out to my guy Mike and Eugene for having me as a part of the team. I am definitely glad to be a part of that. So definitely make sure you check out those guys and make sure y'all share this show out. Definitely share it out to everybody on any of the platforms that you have here. And without further ado, I have some special guests coming in. I have one more special guest that's going to be joining us in just a bit. She's actually wrapping up something that she has going on, but she is going to be joining us in just a minute. First and foremost, I bring to you, and I'm going to give each of these ladies their time, and that is, well, you know her, you love her. She's a Hall of Fame sports writer. She's the girl that gets the first question from Coach Vrabel every press conference. I hope he continues that tradition. A friend of this show and definitely a friend of mine, the late, the great, the legend herself, the one and only Miss Teresa Walker. Miss Teresa, welcome in as usual. Thank you for coming on. Yet again, saving my tail. Let me see. Miss Teresa.
There we
Okay,
go.
there we go.
I'm unmuted. You'd think we've done this enough that I'd have this down, right? I'll just say this. Mike might not give me the first question after today because I pointed out the fact that my birthday month is September, and I'm one of those who believes in celebrating not just a day, not just a week, the whole month. And it's like I'm gonna, because I mean, don't we deserve to have a month to ourselves? I'm just saying, it's not like I'm having birthday cake and blowing out candles every single day, but I just like to take and enjoy the fact that, I'm here. And, let's face it, we all should take a moment to enjoy ourselves, right? And be proud of the fact that we've made it and we're here.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that because I just had my birthday in August. So, you got to come on in and, you got to just enjoy the day, enjoy the month. Next year is my 40th. So I plan on enjoying the whole year that year. So happy early birthday, Miss Teresa.
And
And
belated happy birthday to you.
hey, well, thank you. Thank you. See, I feel complete now. I feel complete. So thank you for that. And now, and now we have another special guest coming in that is a woman who definitely also doesn't need much of an introduction as well. Now, y'all have probably seen her all over NFL TV last year, and you saw her on the field against the Jaguars last year. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know her, you should. She's probably one of the more popular Titan fans around, the leader of the Ladies of Titans, fan of the year for 2021, who should have won NFL fan of the year, by the way, the one and only Miss Stephanie Perkins. Stephanie, how you
Hello.
doing? Welcome in.
Hello. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain.
That was an amazing intro, by the way. You flatter me.
And Stephanie, I completely agree. I think you should have been the NFL fan of the year as well. So I thought you got cheated.
Oh, thank you. Actually, really, by the time we ended everything, we were kind of all rooting for each other. So it wasn't like meeting the overall fan of the year. Oh my goodness, he's such a gem. But I already won when Mike Vrabel shouted out to me on NFL honors. I don't even I wasn't even upset at that point. I was like when he responded back to me yelling at him when he was accepting his award and talking about Miss Amy, that was my Super Bowl at that point. I'd already won my award for the year.
See, I'm sorry I missed that because while I was at LA and I was there on the NFL honors on the red carpet, I would, at that point they'd already introduced the Hall of Famers. So I had up on a little Zoom showing Mike Vrabel talking about his award. Unfortunately, I was in the news conference with all the Hall of Famers, the brand new Hall of Famers. And my job, my job that moment kind of was horrible. I was having to feed quotes from the new Hall of Famers for our Hall of Fame story. So yeah, one of my colleagues had to fill in for me on the Zoom with Mike Vrabel at that moment. So sorry I missed your shout
That's
out.
Okay. I mean, the Hall of Fame enough. It's like by all means.
But I would have loved to have heard that moment. So I'm sorry I missed that.
It's okay. It was absolutely great. Like he just came on, he was talking about Amy, and I didn't realize that the YouTube theater was that enclosed, I guess, because of how everything feeds off the walls. And he said, he was talking about Miss Amy, and I said, "Let's go, Amy Woo." And I didn't realize how loud I was. And then he said, "Atta girl." And then I heard my phone pinging, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then it hit me like, "Oh, this is live. This isn't something that's recorded that they could edit out." And they're like, "I heard you. Was that you on Was that her? That you that I heard?" I was like, "Yeah." It was great.
It's a big show, and I'll say this. I got to view almost every part around SoFi Stadium that day because there was a little bit of confusion. I flew in that day from Nashville, and we get to SoFi, and we're looking for the media credentials to cover the red carpet. And let's just put it this way. I walked 5.5 miles that day because everybody kept saying, "Go this way, go this way." I literally walked all the way around SoFi Stadium and even got some help from somebody at the NFL and ended up just, it's a good thing I took some flats instead of the heels that I wore on the red carpet because I got more than my steps that day. So
I took my tennis shoes. Tennis shoes. Like,
smart.
No way. That stadium is absolutely massive. And I learned that the hard way from the night before. I guess for like part of it, like we had already went out there once and I was like, okay, I've seen the layout. Let me make sure I bring my good walking shoes because when the Super Bowl happened, I was like not walking around in like these like little thick boots that I had on and I thought was cute. I was like, no, not doing this today. And so when the Super Bowl happened, I was like, nope, walking shoes. I'm gonna be comfortable. It was otherworldly though, like being able to like put my feet on the field and just look up, and to the left, I saw just Aaron Donald over there stretching. He was minding his own business in his own world, but I'm just over there like, I was shell shocked the entire time. It was absolutely crazy.
And think about this, we're going to see the renderings from the Titans somewhere in the next few weeks this fall for their new stadium, what they want to build with the roof. And they've already made it clear there's been communication with the NFL that, yeah, we get this new place, we want a Super Bowl. Think about that. I mean, when Bud Adams first started talking to Phil Bredesen in August of 1995, or at least publicly, the idea of just getting an NFL team in Tennessee was ridiculous. Couldn't conceive of it. Now we could just be a few years away from Nashville hosting a Super Bowl in Music City.
It's absolutely crazy. Still trying to.
We almost have Chris speechless there.
Sorry.
I guess a little bit had to fix something right there, but that was something that I am wondering about, because with the stadium, I hear there's been a little bit of a snag, especially with Nashville missing out on the World Cup. That's kind of an issue right now, is that they need to get the stadium together. And I mean, I'm ready for it. So, they just go ahead and bring it. I'm ready to see what this new stadium's supposed to look like. So I get excited. I'm ready to be able to go to games, forget that it's raining. I can, have my raincoat on or whatever. And then when I get in my seat, take it off, be like, yeah.
Yeah. For example, the season opener, there's predicted thunderstorms or storms coming in that day. So I'm like, I'm still going to be there. Maybe a little wet, but I'll still, definitely packing my rain gear with me, because I just, you just never know, because they could say storms, and with Nashville weather, Tennessee weather, it could be sunshine for like the entire time, or you just never know. But
I'll do something.
Visiting the new stadium, it was a whole nother level. Granted, LA, grander scale, things like that, but just seeing everything like new and state of the art, and just refreshed and revitalized. Like, there was no team that wasn't represented out there. Your team may have not been in the Super Bowl, but you were just immersed. Like, I was just overwhelmed with like fandom, because it's not something that everybody gets to do, or gets to participate in. And just to kind of, when they took us down to the tunnel, and before we walked outside, like, I just had this moment of like, reality just hit. Like, I'm literally going to walk out on this field where the Super Bowl's hosted, and that's just something that I will never forget. Like, it was so cool. It was a really cool experience. Halftime show was amazing. Absolutely 100%, 10 out of 10. Halftime show was great. But just kind of to be around a bunch of people, and then also to be around the Rams fan of the year, Amanda, she's a doll, and just to kind of watch her progression. And part of me is kind of glad that the Titans didn't have a Super Bowl, or weren't this. I would have been a nervous wreck. I don't think I would have enjoyed the Super Bowl as much if the Titans were in it, because I would have been a mess the entire time.
I mean, I will probably be like, look, I'm not here to party right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm watching the game.
She didn't want anybody talking to her until the game was over. She was like hunched in the chair. Her husband was right beside her. She was just like the entire game. I don't think she took one breath the entire game.
See, LA was my fifth Super Bowl, real quick, that I've gotten to cover in person. And I've become one of those people. I hate to watch games with other people, because I'm on Twitter and I'm watching the game. And it's like, I just rather watch it with the world of Twitter, everybody who's tuned into games. And just, it's like, I've had a Super Bowl party when I didn't go to the game. I can't. I just want to focus on the game and the commercials. And yeah, I can't wait for the day when Nashville's hosting one of those. It'll be amazing. Amazing.
I can't wait for the day when the Titans are in one. Now, I agree with you, Miss Teresa, that I couldn't do a Super Bowl party and the Titans are in. Well, yes, I could. I theoretically could, but I would have to have everything done beforehand, food, all that stuff, because once the game starts and the Titans are in it, I'm zoning out everybody else. I am focused solely on what's on the television. I need my team to win it. Then I'll party afterwards. But until then, I'm solely focused right here, centered So that is, yeah, I can't wait for the day of that. And if Nashville if and when Nashville hosts the Super Bowl, I will do everything in my power to make that trip. I will make that 3-hour trip up for that. It will be a party no one will ever forget.
Because it comes with a lot of things. Like the Super Bowl wasn't just the Super Bowl. Like they have they also host the Super Bowl experience, and then they have a bunch of players that come out and do signings and things like that. Like, there was like Travis Kelce, and I saw Devontae Adams and Austin Eckler, CD Lamb. Like, there was a bunch of different players that came out multiple days. You just never know who you're going to run into. I was in the cafeteria with my friend getting food, and I look behind me, and there's CD Lamb trying to get food from the cafeteria before he goes out to do his signing. I'm just like, what is this life I live right now? So it would be incredible. Like, part of me thought, I was like, oh, maybe, once they got the number 1 seed, I was like, is this really happening? Am I the fan of the year when the Titans go to the Super Bowl? Like, it was lining up in my head. So it was still fun to watch regardless. It definitely was great to watch.
That is so cool right there. I mean, I can't wait to experience one of those, and I can't wait to experience it when the Titans are actually in it.
Yeah.
So that's what I am excited for most. And when the day that comes, I am all in 100% with that. But now that we've enjoyed last season, although last season didn't end so well personally for your boy, because I was in my hotel room after that game just wallowing in my misery, and I was numb. I didn't want to do a thing after that game, and I still have that game in my mind. We have a game on Sunday, which I hope will help put that image out of my mind forever. And so tonight, how excited are y'all that football is back right quick? Stephanie, I'm going to let you go first.
I'm absolutely pumped. Like you said, last season ended off on a way we all didn't love to see, but we're getting a chance to just start over. We're all 0-0 now. It's a fresh start. Those blade of grass at Nissan Stadium is fresh, tightened up, ready to go. I am hyped. I'm so psyched about getting to experience this, and I'll actually be going to the home opener, and it's going to be my first home opener to attend. So it's just going to be electric to be out there with everybody and enjoy that day.
Is Teresa?
It's going to be the start of my 26th NFL season, all with this franchise in this state, and that's the beautiful thing. Not only is everybody 0-0 with this team, they're going for a 4th straight playoff berth, would be 5 in 6 years. Think about how insane that is. Trying for a 7th straight winning season. Only the Chiefs have had more consecutive active winning streaks than the Titans right now in the NFL. But of course, getting is what J-Rob said. Get to the tournament, get to January, and then see what happens there. They've got a 3-game skid that they've got to end, but I put my the AFC South preview that I wrote moved I think it was Monday. What day? Oh yeah, today's Wednesday. It moved Monday, and maybe it was last week. I'm losing track of time, but I picked the Titans to win the division again, to three-peat, something this franchise has not done since the first 3 years of the original AFL. And the playoff streak that they're trying to do, only the run and shoot days with Warren Moon have they been able to have this kind of success if the Titans are able to make it to the playoffs. And think about this. I know that everybody's excited about Indianapolis. They're going to have their 6th different starting quarterback for a 6th different starting day to open a season. Well, the Titans have Ryan Tannehill. They have Derrick Henry. And after going through 91 different players last year, I know that Harold Landry is on IR, Racey McMath's on IR, but, the fact of the matter is you got to think they're going to be somewhat healthier this year. And if they can win 12 games last year, bringing guys in on a Wednesday and starting them on a Sunday, I know the schedule is tougher, but, it was last year. Do we remember that 5-game stretch where they're playing all those playoff teams and, they won every single one of them, including in LA against the Rams in their first game without Derrick Henry. So, Mike Vrabel is the reigning AP NFL Coach of the Year, and it just feels like that this. Could this be the last go around with Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill? Absolutely. I mean, as Ryan Tannehill said today, you have to seize the moment where you're at right now. But they look healthy, and it just feels like, at a certain point you have to try to kick the door in. It's a phrase Bum Phillips used when they were in the Houston Oilers in the 70s with Earl Campbell. It just feels like this team is right there. I was in Miami for that Super Bowl that the Chiefs won after beating the Titans in the AFC Championship game. I was in LA this year when they were the #1 seed. It just feels like this next Super Bowl is going to be in Arizona. I'm hoping to be there, and Titans have got as good a shot as any in the NFL to be thinking that they could be playing in that game.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing with me, is that everybody has expectations, and I'm going to put up a quick, this is my expectation. This is my thoughts going into the year. I said this before on my AFC South preview on the Truth League report. I have the Titans going 11-6. After going 11-6, winning the division again. And this is how it's looked, everybody. This is how I have it. This is the way I think it's going to go. Are there some tough games in there? Absolutely. But this team is battle tested. They know how to fight through it. And I think they're going to still win the division despite. And let's start off with the bad news. Let's get that out the way. And we'll get everybody's thoughts on this. Harold Landry out for the year. He's out with that ACL. And I just want to quickly get your ladies' thoughts. Everybody's saying, oh my God, the defense is going to fall apart. Like, how can we replace Harold Landry? And I just think, my goodness, I'm like, did y'all forget we have Big Jeff on the team? Besides, he is the best defensive lineman in the league, not named Aaron Donald. You got Kevin Byard, who is an all-pro safety. You got Christian Fulton, who I think will be a Pro Bowler this year. And then you have probably a duo inside linebacker, if they stay healthy, that could be one of the best in the league, in Zach Cunningham and David Long Jr. So quickly, I want to get your thoughts, ladies. Ms. Teresa, I'll let you go first. I know this is a big impact. I am not going to understate that it impacts the defense greatly, but am I wrong to be still optimistic that I think this defense will still be okay with Bud Dupree, because Bud Dupree has to step up? Rashad Weaver, he gets his opportunity. You got Ola Daney, who definitely can show that he can rush the passer. Am I wrong to still be optimistic, or should I be thinking like the sky might be falling defensively?
Well, let's put it this way. They still return now 9 of 11 starters from the defense that in that divisional playoff game. The Titans were the only team in the NFL to have 3 different players with at least 8 sacks. And the guy that they've got in the unofficial depth chart replacing Harold Landry, Danico Autry, he had 9 sacks. Bud Dupree, he's healthy. He told us back in June that there was one game last year that he felt himself. That was the playoff game. And he feels so much better now, having a full offseason to truly get past the ACL. He had 3 sacks last year in 11 games. Well, he's healthy, and he has, there's Jeff Simmons in there, Tier Tart, as you mentioned, the linebackers. And then, that Roger McCreary, the kid out of Auburn, has simply come in and shown that he can step in. I think, they're going to be young in that secondary group, the cornerbacks, with Fulton as the veteran in his 3rd year. But Caleb Farley, you're going to see a lot of him. Roger McCreary, right now he's got that starting spot. It looks like he'll be sliding into the slot when they need to go to nickel defense. They were 6th in scoring last year. They're not going to fall off the shelf. And the funny thing is, people were expecting a big fall off from this defense even before the injury to Landry. And I couldn't see that then. I still don't see it now.
Absolutely. And everybody in the comment section, I apologize. We gonna definitely make sure y'all are a part of the show as well. Derek Roberts, thank you for the super chat as usual. Miss Teresa, you got fans, of course. You got AZ Big saying, hey, Miss Belvis saying what's going on. Stephanie, you got fans too. Everybody seems to love you. I think they're here more to see y'all more than to talk to me. So it looks like I am on the back burner here. So I mean, I appreciate everybody tuning in and everything with that. So, I agree with you. I mean, we got a lot of starters coming back defensively. Bud Dupree has to have a big year. And yes, we cannot forget about Danico Autry, even though I know he hasn't really practiced all training camp, but now he's looking like he's coming back to himself a little bit as well. So that is a good thing. Titan Anderson, what's going on with you? Big Kimbo, I know he's got something coming up his sleeve too. But Stephanie, now what do you think? When you heard the news about Harold Landry, because I was like, when I saw it, when it first came out, I was like, oh man, I didn't want to get this news today. And then there it is. So Stephanie, floor is yours.
Well, first I want to say that, prayers to Harold Landry with the rehab, the speedy recovery, and his mental. That's my first and foremost thought. I just want him to feel like he's going to be harder on himself than any one of us, especially as fans, can be when it comes to this. This is the last thing he wanted, and it was in practice. That's why my immediate reaction was sadness, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. I'm like, this happened in practice. This is some things that accidentally happened. He's going to be hard on himself, but we're just going to band together and we're going to ball out. Even more so, I think, for Landry now that he's not playing this year. As long as we have Coach Vrabel and John Robinson and Amy at the helm, I just don't see how we're going to step back. Definitely agree. We're a younger core, but that's to be expected also, because eventually we're going to have some of that turnaround as you go. And our staff is incredible at coaching up players. Players want to come in and play for this organization, and that's what I take the most from this. And the mention of Danico Autry, to me, I said it last year when he got signed. He's going to be that sneaky signing that nobody really realized how big of an impact he made when he came onto the field. And just him, I feel like him himself, along with Bud, really opened up our defense last year. And so him coming back, like you said, hopefully he's going to be, everything's going to be good over practice and things like that. And he'll be fine at game time. But with our young core, luckily we do have that veteran presence between Simmons. I feel like Landry's still going to be around. We may not see him physically, but he's still going to be a very much involved person when it comes to the core. I am also, like you said, Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard, Bud Dupree with his experience, and he's been helping it. Rashard Weaver, if I'm not mistaken, there's been some videos of them actually training together. And so, it's those veterans coaching up our young players that it's going to just always keep us in the race. I feel like we're never out of it. And that's, that's my thing. Like I said, my first and foremost is just, like I said, prayers and speedy recovery to Harold Landry. And then I know the boys are just going to band together in their names and his name to get us where we want to be.
I can't hear Chris. I think he might be having a technical issue. But Chris, until you're connected back, I'm just going to echo what Steph said. Let's not forget that they still have Jim Schwartz as the senior defensive assistant. Mm-hmm. And everywhere he's been, including previous stop with the Titans, he has been able to help, find ways to get to the quarterback. And I see we've got an addition, so I'm going to shut up now.
So sorry I'm late. Please excuse my tardiness, but I'm so happy to be here.
Hi, Caroline.
Hello, T. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Join
I'm
me,
good.
Mr. Chris and Miss Stephanie.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Stephanie, I don't think we've met, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And yeah, Chris, we can't hear you.
I can't hear
Yeah.
Chris. I just know he's speaking something great. I know he's spitting some game over there, and I can't hear it. I hate it.
I know. Miss Stephanie is the reigning Tennessee Titans fan of the year. So she was in LA for the Super Bowl. So we started off talking a little bit about
Amazing.
that. And Chris, we're still waiting for you. I don't know what your tech issue is. So I'll just keep talking until you say something and we can hear you. Okay, brother?
Oh, okay. I
There
thought
he
that
is.
happened.
There we go. Yeah.
Spoken into
I have my
existence,
mic
dude.
on mute. Everybody y'all work with me, y'all know I'm crazy.
Classic.
So I
Been
I
there,
want to
done
make
that.
sure I bring in a proper introduction to the one and only from 102.5 The Game, Stillman and Company. You hear her every day from 2 to 6 p.m. The one and only Miss Caroline Fenton, hot off the radio. Miss Fenton, glad to have you.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate that introduction, Chris. But yeah, just hopped off the airwaves, and there's no place I'd rather be after the show.
And I will say this, as the show go on, I have a bone to pick with Jared. I got to
know.
do it through you.
I know.
I have to do it through you.
I tend to be the great mediator among Jared and then whoever else, listeners, Joe, whoever
It's
it
a
might
long
be.
list, right, Caroline?
It truly is. Text line, call line, listeners, other Nashville media members, Joe Rexroad in particular. Yeah, it is a full-time job, but lucky that I get to do it.
Well, we are glad to have you as always. And so we were talking about Harold Landry's injury and the expectations that we may have coming into the season. So I want to give you the floor. What were your thoughts on the Harold Landry injury? Because I know a certain somebody, we know what he thinks, and he should remain nameless, Jared Stillman, who just thinks the sky might be falling and just is so bum on the Titan that I didn't even want to listen to yesterday's show because of that. Caroline, help me out.
I understand your frustration. I mean, my initial thought when I saw the Harold Landry news was this team can't catch a break. I mean, after last season, it seemed like there wasn't a single player except Ryan Tannehill, knock on wood, that escaped the injury bug. So I thought, seriously, I mean, right when the Titans start to figure things out on defense, that the change from 2020 to 2021 on defense, I mean, it was nothing short of miraculous. You go from one of the worst defenses in the league in 2020 to one of the best, to a team that gets 9 sacks in a playoff game. So that was my initial thought, was this poor Titans team can't catch a break. And this was a topic on the show yesterday, was, are the Titans screwed with Harold Landry's injury? And while I'm not going to go that far to say that they're screwed, I think you don't lose your leading sacker. Like, I had 12 sacks last year in Harold Landry, and you don't get better. That's going to be a very palpable loss, especially at the time of year when the Titans can't really go out and get a veteran pass rusher that can even come close to the production that Harold Landry had in 2021. So it doesn't make you feel good about it, especially too that this defensive line as a unit, as a whole, was so effective last year. And you can only assume that after having 1 year together, that 4 of Harold Landry, Danico Offrey, Jeffrey Simmons, and Bud Dupree, after having 1 year working together as a unit and finding a lot of success, that in year 2, they could take even more of a step forward. And also, the defensive line winning so many games for the Titans last year. They don't beat the Rams on Sunday Night Football if it's not for the pressure that defensive line put on the quarterback, put on Matthew Stafford. They wouldn't have been in the game against the Bengals if it weren't for the defensive line getting 9 sacks. So it's a huge loss to this defensive line. But I think, to me, it's okay, Rashad Weaver, what you got? Okay, DeMarcus Walker, what you got? It's next man up in this situation, because the Titans don't really have an option. And if it doesn't work out with those two, then you go out and you trade for a veteran pass rusher. Or you go out and find one on another practice squad that you can hope can be a step up and can give you something that maybe Rashad Weaver or any other of these guys who are going to step in can give you. So it's a huge loss to the Titans, but that's football. That's football. And I worry about this defensive line and how it takes a step back without Harold Landry. But I'm not going to say that the sky is falling. I'm not hitting the panic button, but it is a big loss.
It's a loss. I do agree with that. I don't think it's as that the defensive line is going to take a serious step back. I mean, we got to see what DeMarcus Walker brings in because he's the starter now.
Mhm.
And, we coming from Denver, coming from Houston, he should at least give us about 3 to 5 sacks. And there's a way by committee they're going to have to replace that production, which is something we're definitely going to get into. And again, I'm going to put up my graphic of what I think this team is going to do right here. I think the Titans go 11-6. I think they go 11-6. I think they win the division again, even though a lot of the rest of the world is not thinking the same thing. But we just have to hold in there. We got to see what's going to happen. That they're going to have to replace Landry. No one single person is going to be able to do this. It's going to take a collective to do that job that Harold Landry could do. And yeah, he's going to be missed, sorely missed. So I definitely do appreciate that. But TNT tonight continuing on. We got the ladies here, ladies night. The fellas are here. They are loving y'all and don't really care for me very much. And we got another star, Mr. Nate, in here. So Drum Star comes in and says, brought Carrie Underwood.
That's not the first time I've gotten that. I get that and Reese Witherspoon all the time.
I got legends. I'm appreciated. I am probably the least popular of the 4 on this show right now.
Oh, that's not true, Chris. I think you've got 3 of your biggest fans on here.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that. But let's continue on. As we talk about season expectations, I want to play a little over and under with you, ladies, tonight. And we're going to definitely talk about some of the players. We're going to talk about maybe the Titans total. And let's just see where we go from there. And first off, I want to start off with Ryan Tannehill because, Stephanie, you know this. I have another fan on Twitter. Her name is Haley. I have a bet going on with her that she says if Tannehill leads us to the Super Bowl, I have to wear some Tannehill gear and I have to come on and officially apologize to the world and to Tannehill that I doubted him. However, right now, until Tannehill proves me wrong, I think my bet's looking pretty good. I ain't got to do that. I get to say I was right. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'll be glad to do it, y'all. Y'all know I'm a Titan fan all the way. So, Tannehill, over, under 3,700 yards, over, under 22 touchdown passes. Does he go over or does he go under? Miss Teresa, you're the Hall of Famer. You go first.
I'm going to go under on the yards passing, but I'm going to go over for the touchdown passes. I just think they've got more people for him to throw to this year. And let's not forget, there's that guy, Derrick Henry. In 2020, when this offense was second in the NFL for yards and tied for 4th in points, he was close. I think it was 3,500 plus. Maybe it was around 3,700. But I just think that, they're going to run the ball. So under on the passing, over on the TD passes.
All right. Let's see. Caroline, you're up next.
I'm actually going to flip-flop exactly what Teresa just said. I think it'll be over 3,700 passing yards and under 22 touchdown passes because I think that when it comes to scoring, they're going to look to do Derrick Henry to do a majority of bringing the rock in the end zone. But even last year, when I would look at, Ryan Tannehill's tenure of 2019, 2020, and 2021, of those 3 years, I would say 2021 was Ryan Tannehill's least effective or efficient year. and he still had over 3,700 yards. So I think that he's going to be able to air the ball out a little bit more. Of course, losing A.J. Brown in the passing game doesn't make you feel great about it, but I think that looking at this pass catching core of Treylon Burks, Nicholas Burkakine, Robert Woods, and also adding in Austin Hooper into the mix, he's going to be able to feel more comfortable passing the ball in those short yardage situations with Austin Hooper, and also spreading the ball out among the rest of the wide receiver core. So I'm going to go over on passing yards. But at the end of the day, this is Derrick Henry's offense, and he's going to have the ball in his hands as much as they can give it to him. As long as he's running it, he's got the ball.
All right. Stephanie, what about you?
I'm actually in agreement with Miss Teresa. I'm under 3,700 passing yards and over 22 touchdowns. I think with how Ryan is built, I think he understands where his scope is, and that's perfectly okay. He knows where his flaws is. He knows where his strengths are, and not trying to do too much passing. Like when Ryan Tannehill gets in, and granted, last year he was made, like it feels like that this was the first time he was made to have to air the ball out. And so now with Henry back, I don't feel like he's going to be made as much to air that ball out. However, I would like to throw a wrench in there. Ryan Tannehill also was second behind Lamar for most rushing touchdowns because he also has wheels. He can run the ball. He extends plays. So that's why I'm over the 22 touchdowns, but I like to sprinkle in there the fact that you have to account for his rushing touchdowns because the guy, also as a sports bettor, I tend to just love taking Ryan Tannehill anytime touchdowns. Just shouts out to the first game. Look, that's a very sneaky bet that people really undervalue because, when everybody's on that line and they see Derrick Henry, there's Ryan Tannehill, he could just run in and boom, you cashed your bet. So definitely under passing yards, but over touchdowns, and then throw in some rushing touchdowns on top of that because he's got those wheels. So
that's a good point about Ryan Tannehill as a rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and if I can just add, I have a sneaking suspicion. Remember in 2019 when Marcus Mariota was benched, they used him occasionally to come in the field in the red zone and to throw in a little bit of a change up and use his legs. And I just feel that nothing that I've seen in the preseason makes me think that they're going to do it exactly, but I think they have that in their back pocket. And I will not be surprised if in certain games we see number 7 trot out there and do something. Remember the Baltimore playoff game, Marcus Mariota was lined up out wide. In the AFC Championship game, Marcus Mariota had the ball and ran, near the end zone. So I think that may affect a little bit of Ryan Tannehill's numbers. And I apologize. In 2020, he threw for 3,819 yards. So I definitely shorted him.
Yes, I definitely agree. And I think we have another legend in here, Mandisa. I'm like, I think I know a famous name when I see one. Said, don't sleep on Tanner wheels.
Exactly. So, those rushing yards, his extending ability, the man's got legs. And I feel like that is very overlooked for Ryan. He will extend, he will run. And that's one thing that most defenses still, after 2 or 3 seasons, don't take into account and I hope they don't ever pick up on that, to be honest, is him at the goal line. Like this guy will, account for quite a few rushing touchdowns throughout the year. And it's great to watch.
Well, you're right about that. And I'm just glad, again, we have a legend in the chat, Miss Mandisa. Thank you for watching. I definitely do appreciate that. Great singer indeed. Here's where I'm going with this. I think this is a make or break year for Tannehill. And I think there's going to be a little bit more throwing out of the backfield to Henry, to Haskins, with Hilliard. Now he has a tight end he can count on in Austin Hooper. And I'm hoping to see something with Burks and Woods. I'm actually going to be the outlier. I'm going over both. And I'm not confident in saying that. I think he slightly gets over 3,700. He won't hit 4,000. But I think he'll get at least close to about 3,800. And I will say 25 TDs. I think he's going to throw a few, take the pressure off of Derrick Henry some. And we have some running backs that can catch out of the backfield. Derrick's been working on that as well. And, they're going to be trying to move the ball down the field. Robert Woods is a possession guy. Get him the ball in volume, march down the field. Austin Hooper, him and Tannehill have some connection going on. They have a major connection. So I think they're going to go over on both. 615 podcast. He's saying 35. So he's going under on yards, over on touchdowns. Drumstar, over on both yards and touchdowns.
It's going to be fun to see Kyle Phillips, too. I feel like that's a name we didn't really bring up much. This man's route running ability is absolutely incredible. So just to kind of see that connection form with him and Ryan over the season is going to be fun, too.
That is a good point.
Type of receiver.
Kyle Phillips.
Like we'll see.
So the fact that they're calling Kyle Phillips the professor, because of his knowledge, he's a rookie, and this kid's so good at route running and understands the concepts of route running. That's why we've seen this kid go from 5th rounder to getting a lot of time on that first team with Ryan Tannehill. I can't wait to see him. And now that I think about it, Chris, I'm probably going to be wrong on taking the under on the passing yards, but think back to this 2020 when he did put up over 3,800 yards. He had Jonnu Smith and Anthony Ferkser, and it just, they did not have a true top 2 tight end options last year. No offense to Anthony Ferkser and no offense to Jeff Swaim, who is listed on the depth chart as a starter right now. But, the addition of Austin Hooper is going to be a big difference for this offense.
Absolutely. And I definitely do appreciate. And for everybody out there, make sure y'all subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and put all, so that way that you get all the content. And go ahead and throw a like in there too, if you don't mind. And so I like that as well. And so now we move on to the King Beast himself, Derrick Henry. So ladies, over, under 1,400 yards, 12 TDs. Miss Caroline, you got the floor.
That 1,400 number is tough because I've said I think that Derrick Henry can be a 1,300 to 1,500 yard back. And as a Titans fan, you might look at that and say, well, that sounds like a bad season, coming off of a 2,000 yard Derrick Henry season in 2020. That is a really, really solid season for a running back. I mean, that is going to be top of the league in rushing yards if that is what it ends up being. But I think that 1,500 yards for Derrick Henry is totally, totally feasible. So I'm going to take the over on that. I think you can expect at least a little bit of natural regression coming off of an injury. He is 28 years old. That starts to be the age where running backs start to take a little bit of a step back. Derrick Henry has shown that he is different in so many different capacities. So I don't think it's going to be a dramatic step back, because I think that Derrick Henry is just different. And just being able to see him in training camp, he looks 100%. He doesn't do much in practice, but he looks like he's not afraid to kind of cut off of that foot. It doesn't look like he has anything setting him back this year. So while I do expect at least some natural regression just coming off of injury and getting older, I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be drastic. So I would say 1,500 yards, and I would go over on touchdowns as well. I mean, he had 10 touchdowns last year and got injured at the end of October. So he missed, I would say a little bit under half of the season. So he would have been way over that mark on both yards and touchdowns if he had played the entire season last year. So I'm taking the over. I think the Titans are going to use Derrick Henry until they absolutely positively cannot use him anymore. Give me over on Derrick.
All right. Stephanie?
I'm over on both as well. Like I said, I agree wholeheartedly. There's going to be, in my head, just some natural regression. But like putting that into perspective is crazy to me, because 1,400 yards, like people are just like, it's crazy.
That's a lot.
Like even breaking it down for games, if Derrick Henry doesn't at least get 100 yards, it's a horrible game for Henry. It's not like he didn't do good at all. Any other running back in the league, and you have Ezekiel Elliott, who's been in this league for years and was at the top of his game, and he's kind of like, if he gets like 80 yards, that's a game for Ezekiel. If Jonathan Taylor gets 90 yards, that's fantastic. It's amazing. Derrick Henry, people bat an eyelash if the man has to drop 125. For them to even be like, oh my goodness, that's absolutely insane. Like 1,400 yards for him is mid now for Derrick Henry. That's like, just every day. I'm fan based in me. I would love to see a 2,000-yard season. I don't know if we're going to see a 2,000-yard season because that's a lot to ask, especially with his age starting to become a topic. However, I feel like for Derrick, he has no quit in him. He's going to run until they tell him not to. Even then, he's going to still try to push himself out on the field. I mean, the man got hurt in Indy and still came out and played the entire game. And even in overtime to get us the drive, to get the field goal, or get everything set up, he still played. We had no idea he was hurt until after the game. Like, that's just the type of person he is. And I really think it's going to show this season so I go over for both. Like I see maybe like 1,800, which is still crazy. I'll never forget when he rushed for over 2,000 rushing yards and how the announcers just kind of like, oh, it's 2,000. Like, what? This man is in a club with players who there may be just a few and far between that have made this 2,000-yard rushing club. And it was just, that's cool. 2,000. I'm like, okay. And so it's just like, you can just tell he has that fire. He looks great. I think he's in great shape. He's handled himself well off the off season. So definitely excited to see how he kind of, he wants to take his crown back. And I don't blame him. I'm going to stand out of his way while he does it. I'm going to be far to the left away from that stiff arm this year. So
exactly. I think he's coming back for his crown too. Miss Mims, I see you in here. What's going on? I know she's extremely hyped. So I know she is up and ready. Miss Teresa, the floor is yours.
If Derrick Henry plays all 17 games, and granted, maybe he doesn't play the 17th game, but just taking what he averaged in 2019 when he became a starter, 2018, and that's when it was Marcus Mariota as the quarterback. He averaged 66 yards a game. So even that puts him at 1,100 yards for the year. If you take his least amount of yards average per game with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, that's 102 yards a game. That would put him at 1,745 yards per game. I'm taking the over, and I'm taking the over on the touchdowns because, I covered Eddie George. I've covered Chris Johnson for this franchise. I've covered 2 of the 8 men to run for 2,000 yards in NFL history. And let's face it, Derrick Henry was on track to do something that hadn't been done since Emmitt Smith in the early 90s. Forget the chance maybe at 2,000 yards again, which would never been done before. But he was on target to lead the NFL in rushing for 3 consecutive seasons, and it took it took weeks. He still finished 9th in the NFL in rushing last year, missing 9 games. I'm taking Derrick Henry to do the over. And hey, they play the Jaguars twice. If they haven't truly improved that Jaguars defense, who knows? He might have an outside shot at 2,000 going into the finale. So, I'm still I think that Derrick Henry has more tread left on the tires at the age of 28 than many running backs do, because while he ran like crazy in high school, he wasn't the starter his entire time at Alabama, and he was behind DeMarco Murray for the first couple of years with the Titans. So I think there's more tread on his tires, and we know he's got a new plate in that foot to help keep him healthy. So I'm expecting more out of Derrick Henry.
That's so true. I think a lot of people forget that he didn't play. Essentially, he was a third down back, and even then, he was still behind, DeMarco Murray and Dion Lewis. He was still sharing the field with them for multiple years before he even got that starting position. So that definitely helps on the back end, because if something was happening like this and he had all that wear and tear prior, it might be a little bit harder for him to come back. So I love that tidbit there about, him not. And I bring that argument up when I talk to other people that are just like, Derrick Henry's this. I'm like, you guys don't, he really didn't play for like the first 2 to 3 seasons. He was with us. He was only on the field for a couple of times. So definitely can't wait to see what he does this year.
Absolutely.
And real quick, sorry, Chris, but him and Tannehill together, that's the combination. Derrick Henry's career really took off. Why? Tannehill is such a great play action quarterback, and he helps sell that so much. And that's what helps Henry play even better.
Yes.
And Teresa, to your point earlier about he was the ninth, had the ninth most rushing yards in the league, and he missed 9 games. Let's not forget too that Derrick Henry was the leading rusher in the league like 4 weeks after he got injured. So I hear Jonathan Taylor, all the love for Jonathan Taylor, and it is so deserved because Jonathan Taylor is that dude. And he's a young guy, and he really proved, especially that game last year against the Bills when he just popped off for over 100 yards. The love for Jonathan Taylor is real, but let's not forget that Derrick Henry had that rushing title for 4 weeks after he got injured, and that included being over Jonathan Taylor for 4 weeks. So, yeah, I think to your point, Derrick Henry's got tread left on the tires, and I hope the Titans are able to take advantage of that and that they don't hold Derrick Henry back, because if you've got a Ferrari, you don't keep it in the garage.
Exactly. And I'm going to shout out Miss Mandisa again because she's bringing it. Miss Mims ready for some football. Mandisa said, my goal is the crown. She's going over. And she's like, hush this talk about Jonathan Taylor being the best running back in the league. Mandisa bringing that fire. And I am 100%.
I love it.
I love it. I'm a big fan of Miss Mandisa, and I agree with her.
Yeah, he's going over. He's going over 1,400 because I believe on Chase, Willie, and D-Mace today, I think they were talking to Jonathan Hutton, and the number that they had was 1,350. And so that's why I want to say it was 1,250 or 1,350. And I said, you know what? I want to make a challenge. I'm going to go 1,400. I'm going to go a little bit above. Not only do I think he goes over 1,400, I think if he starts off the way that I think he could start off, he could flirt with 2,000 again. And no disrespect to Jonathan Taylor. Personally, I like Jonathan Taylor as a running back coming out of Wisconsin. I was looking at him like he would be a nice back behind Derrick Henry and could eventually take over at some point. I like that, but until Jonathan Taylor outdoes Derrick Henry, a fully healthy Derrick Henry, them putting the crown on his head is fake. It's fake. It's not real. Just like, as Jared said, Caroline, salary cap's not real. That crown on Jonathan Taylor's head is not real. The king will take back his throne. He will rush for 1,900 yards, 22 touchdowns. He is going to do it big. And the fact that he got injured, I think, saved his career, added another year or two on his career. So, he's coming back fully healthy. And remember, I've said this before, and I will say it again to everybody else. Derrick Henry is not of this world. He is built so differently than everybody else on this planet. Derrick Henry is not from planet Earth. He is not. I say this all the time. He came from planet Krypton. He crash landed on Earth, and the Henrys took him in. They took him in, raised him as his own, and they just birthed one of the greatest running backs that's going to come around. That's what happened. He's an alien monster. And again,
I also just want him to be respected. For, I think the only part that really got to me last year, besides the Henry injury, was the fact that Jonathan Taylor immediately was put in MVP contention. Nope. Like that is what, and people wonder why Titans fans are the way they are. And I'm like, it has a lot to do with the disrespect. I'm like, people was barely batting an eyelash to Derrick Henry. They laughed at the thought of a running back being in an MVP race when he is essentially our entire offense. And for Jonathan Taylor, and like you said, show love to Jonathan. He did an incredible job last season, but for all that hype, and part of me thinks it maybe because of the Hard Knocks thing too. I'm like, that steamroll, just all of it. And I couldn't wrap my head around the fact. I'm like, you guys, and that's something as a Titan fan that will always, I feel like, we'll never get out of that type of shadow, is just because we're not like that media darling that is, it's there. We have a piece there, but outside of that, we just keep hearing we're a boring offense. I'm like, well, we have some of the best running backs in franchise history. Like we've been blessed with we've been spoiled rotten with running backs. Like we've been spoiled. And just so, like, for me to see that Jonathan Taylor could have one incredible season, granted he deserved it, to be put in that MVP contention, I was just like, didn't you guys just have a 2,000-yard running back the year before? And y'all just kind of like, he's on the Titans, so who cares? And that's obviously, I feel like that's just as a whole, that's a Titans fan summed up.
I'm going to take it even one more step further. I'm putting money on Derrick Henry as comeback player of the year.
Just saw odds on that,
player of the
Chris.
year.
Just saw odds on that. He's a 7-2 pick to be the comeback player of the year, and I'm not picking against him.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely. I'm putting, probably before Sunday, I'm putting some money on that for comeback player of the year, without a doubt. But let's continue on. Now we're going to talk Treylon Burks. And he could be the X factor and the key to all of this in this offense. We know what Derrick Henry can do. We know what Tannehill could do. We kind of know what Robert Woods and Austin Hooper are. We don't know what Treylon Burks is yet. So here's the question. Over, under 750 and 4 TDs. And I'm going to let Miss Teresa go first.
I'm taking the over on both of those. I mean, the fact that they're listing Robert Woods and Nick Westbrook-Akine as the starters on the unofficial depth chart right now, it just feels like it's a little bit of a push maybe to the young man from Arkansas. But in this offense, with Derrick Henry on the field, I can't remember the stat, but Ryan Tannehill has more yards per throw when Henry is on the field in this offense. So, and with the big physical ability that Treylon Burks has got, I can see the run after catch the guy he was compared to coming out in the draft, A.J. Brown. So, yeah, I'm going to take the over on that.
Caroline?
I think I'm going to take the under on 750 yards, over on the touchdown count, just because, like Teresa mentioned, he's not listed on the depth chart for the Giants game. I do wonder, because we saw it in the preseason game, in that game against the Cardinals. He was on the field, off the field, on the field. So on the sideline with ice on his calf or his hamstring or knee, something on his leg. So I do wonder, is it a health thing with Treylon Burks? Is this going to be something that we kind of see with him throughout the year? Is he's on the field, he's off the field, he has weird little tweak injuries that are bothering him throughout the season. So his availability is a question for me. And also the trust level with Ryan Tannehill. I'm not sure if it's quite there yet. That doesn't mean it's not going to come. It means that he might just need a little bit more time to build that chemistry and to build that trust with Ryan Tannehill, because we didn't see an exorbitant amount of Tannehill to Treylon Burks connections throughout training camp. Of course, Treylon Burks shut down all of the rumors and the offseason chatter about his ability whenever that was, one of the first passes that we saw from Tannehill in training camp was a bomb to Treylon Burks, and he went up and had that great one-handed catch. Treylon Burks has the talent. We've seen it at Arkansas. We saw it in training camp. He has the talent. He has the ability. I just question the availability and the chemistry that he still needs to build with Ryan Tannehill. So I don't know if Treylon Burks is necessarily going to be is going to be Ryan Tannehill, his favorite target or his go-to guy. But I do think that he's going to be targeted at least enough. And also he has that yak ability, that yards after catch ability, that I think Treylon Burks is going to be able to kind of catch short yardage passes and be able to run it in for a touchdown. I think that he'll have that ability as well, because the dude's got wheels. So I think that he's going to be able to put up a good bit of points. But I think 500 yards might be more in the ballpark for Treylon Burks in my expectations.
All right. Stephanie?
I have about 600. That's sort of like my cap for him. and over on the touchdowns. Brian's going to be spreading that ball all over. And just in my head, there's too many opportunities for Traylon Burks in the end zone, especially. Like, he's going to wrestle somebody for that ball. He's going to, go after that catch. I do see him in some long passage sort of things where he could pick up a good chunk of those yards. And also the yak where he could pick up quite a few, because it's hard to get him down. Like, we play bully ball, and that's just been our MO. And I'm glad they're feeding into it, and they're not changing their brand for what mainstream NFL society kind of has for you. That's one reason I fell in love with this team, is because they play old school ball. Like, you're going to beat me off of the scrimmage line, and if you can't, I'm going to take advantage of that. But the availability does have me question a little bit. That's why I said about 600 to 650. If he gets to 700, I'm going to be incredibly happy. In my mind, I just don't want people to compare AJ to Traylon. Traylon is not AJ. He's not here to be AJ. He's a rookie. I understand, baby.
Football queen and a mama bear. She can do it all.
Yes.
And to that point, I know, and Steph, I know you being moms and everything. That's great.
You're sorry.
I love that. Nate's a star. And so I feel like this too. And I'm going to be the outlier. I'm going under on both. And let me make this clear to everybody. I want to be wrong on this one. I want to be wrong. In my heart, I want Burks to go over both. In my mind, though, and remember, y'all know, truth. Remember that word. I'm going under until he proves that he can go over. So I'm going under like 650, 2 TDs, but I think more will come from that, because if he just grows that chemistry with Tannehill, and I think he will have a game where he does go off and things like that. And, Stephanie, you said that he's not AJ Brown. He wasn't brought in to be AJ Brown. You got to look at where he was drafted.
I get that, and I wholeheartedly accept that. But at the same time, this he's a rookie. And this is just personal. Like, for me, you get that rookie year to learn to grow. You get that rookie year to build that chemistry and to become the player that you want to be after that rookie year. We were at a crossroads with the whole AJ thing, and it just happened when it happened. Traylon didn't ask to be drafted where he was drafted, but he was, and he gets that opportunity to hopefully prove to us as Titans fans why he was taken where he was taken. But at the same time, realistically in my head, and I think this also comes from the mama side of me, he's a rookie. He's a baby. He gets that 1 year to grow, that 2 years. Because you're like, for example, Nick Westbrook-Aquino worked his way up to where he was. He started off on special teams mainly, even though he's a wide receiver. And I was on Nick Westbrook-Aquino. Like, I was cheering for him. I was rooting for him. And every season we've gotten to see him grow to the wide receiver he is today, because of the opportunities he was afforded. So that's where I am with that. I personally I give Traylon that 1 year, regardless of where you were drafted, to kind of show me where he's going to be. Like you said, I agree with you. I hope you're wrong, because then that means, more production for Traylon. But at the same time, I'm not going to be upset or disappointed in the pick if he doesn't go off this season, because for me, he still has that learning curve to grow. So.
Well, we definitely have some fans that think Burks will go off. 615 Podcast says 1,308 scores. Ooh. Mark Jones said he had 170 against Alabama, and everybody goes to that game. Everybody goes to that game against Alabama, and he did show out in that one. And he says Tannehill knows he will need Burks, and he will rely on him early. Tannehill and Burks have some good connection in training camp. He's ready. He thinks he'll be over 1,000. Let's see. Shane says Stephanie knows her ball. True enough, and I do agree. And so I think he's going to be rookie of the year. And AJ Stats rookie year, Mandisa, I believe he had, let me see if I got this right. Teresa, Caroline, you can confirm if I'm right. 52 catches, 1,051 yards, 8 TDs. Am I anywhere close?
Chris, you are right on the money.
Oh!
That was very impressive.
And he only started 11 games, played 16. And the advantage that Traylon Burks has is that there'll be a 17th game. So if he's available, then that's why that 750, it's kind of like the hook when you're making a bet. If you'd said 700, I might have said, but 750, I'm going to take the over on that. So I just think that with this offense and that ability, I mean, and that's the thing. Miss Stephanie, you mentioned, and I kind of disagree. He was taken with the pick that they got trading away A.J. Brown. They will be tied together forever because of that trade.
Yeah, I get that.
But the fact of the matter is the young man's got skills. You watch him, he's big, he's physical, he's got good hands. And, when he walked off the field against the Cardinals, he was kind of holding his right wrist up. He came back and went back in that game. So that does show me some toughness.
Absolutely. And I definitely do agree with that. And so that's something that we're definitely going to see. And I got a couple more, but I know, Caroline, I know you probably got to hop off. I know you got to do something.
I know. I'm sorry to hop in late and hop out early. But
that
thank you.
This Sunday. Malik Willis, over or under 1 snap in this game?
Under. I don't see them putting him on the field in a game where they're a big favorite. The last line I saw was 5.5, 6.5, depending on. No, I don't put him out there in this opener. I remember the very first game in Nissan Stadium. Steve McNair struggled a little bit against the Cincinnati Bengals. People were booing him. They wanted Neil O'Donnell. Steve McNair comes back in that game, led them to the win, and we all remember what happened at the end of that 1999 season. So there's no reason for them to put Malik Willis on the field in this game.
I agree. Steph?
I'm in 100% agreement. I may want to see him later on. Part of me kind of wants to just see him doing like a Jacksonville game, something like that. Something that I get, when we play Jacksonville, it's kind of like, just a big brother, little brother type thing. So, but I don't, other than that, I really don't want him taking the field if he doesn't have to. Stay on the sidelines, learn, grow from there. The Titans, I feel like, have never had the opportunity to develop a rookie quarterback. We've always gotten them and just thrown them onto the field. And I feel like this year they're going to, hold on to Malik off the field as much as possible. So, and in this game against the Giants, there's just no need. You really do need your starters to kind of gel together, even if it's for that one play. I don't see them. I think I see a wildcat from Henry before I see Malik on the field.
Right.
To be honest.
Remember who the opponent is week 2, Monday night at Buffalo. So, and Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, this starting offense, they need snaps together and they need them in a game. And no offense, but they don't need to get Malik into this game.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree. I figured to have a little fun with that one. I thought Caroline was going to stay on, but I know she had to hop off a little bit. I agree. I don't think Malik needs to be on there. I know there are people that want to see like a little small package of him maybe in the red zone or something like that, maybe jump pass or read option. But yeah, don't put him on there unless you absolutely have to. I 100% agree with that. Now, we'll quickly go into some defense. Bud Dupree, now that he has to be the main guy, over under 9 sacks.
I might go with a push on that and go right on 9 sacks because that's what Autry had. You got Simmons there. Simmons is the guy that I'm expecting to have an even bigger year than he had last year. That's just me personally. So I'm going to go with I'm going to stick on 9 for Bud Dupree. And let's not forget that would be 6 more than he had last year and would be putting him into some pretty good territory for his career. So that's where I'm going to stick.
All right. Steph?
I'm going to go on the under, but not by much. I said 7. I'm seeing like 7 for some reason. Definitely an opportunist. I feel like he's going to come out wanting to punch some people in the mouth. This season, he's, like I said, got that full season of being healthy, being able to just kind of recuperate and re-strengthen. But 9 sacks for me is just a tiny smidge high. Like I'm on the 7 to 8. And I would rather kind of just go ahead and take the under rather than you get your money back on the push and you automatically lose if once he hits that 9 sack. But that's why I'm like, I'm still going to hover around that 7-8 area for me.
I'm going to say this. I'm going way over. I need Landry. I need Bud Dupree to go over. I need 12. I need 12 sacks from Bud Dupree. You got to help replace that. Now, I know Weaver could help with that. I know Simmons and Autry will help with that too. So, I mean, they're going to do it as a committee, but Bud Dupree has got to take the lead on this. You're getting paid $16.5 million a year, and if you don't produce, and there's a good pass rushing class coming out next year, I don't know. The Titans could get out of this contract after this year. They could get out of the Bud Dupree contract if he doesn't produce. And it's a little bit too early to talk about that, but I expect over. And I'm with some of the comments. AZ Big says over with 10. Drumstar said with the money, 12. Shane saying 14. But I do agree with CJ. I think Weaver could go off as well. I think Weaver should get about 6. I'm going to say 6 sacks for at least Rashad Weaver. I mean, we've seen him do some good in the preseason against like 2s and 3s, but we got to see him against 1s. We got to see him against starting caliber left and right tackles, and can he produce against those guys? Because if he does, Rashad Weaver going to be something serious. And that might make a decision like, should we get rid of Bud Dupree and go ahead and have Weaver with Landry? Or do we keep the 3 together? And in that way, you can kind of rotate it in. So I am going over. I am going over big time.
Chris, he had 11.5 sacks in 2019. So, you're not, and hey, he doesn't have a TJ Watt on the other side, but guess what? He's going to have somebody. He's got Jeff Simmons on that line. So you may not be that far off.
I agree. 5.5 over under Kevin Byard on picks.
5.5 or 5?
5.
5. I'll take the over. Personally, I feel like Kevin's just at his best. It just seems like after last year when he finally got some help on that defense, his game just skyrocketed. He was all over the field. He was in his ballpark form, a ball hawk form for me last season. It was great to see because he deserved it. I feel like he was that glue that held the year before where our defense was just kind of drowning in a sense. So I'm going to go over personally for Byard for interceptions this year.
Is Teresa?
I'm going to agree. I can see, he has a career high of 8, his first all-pro season. Now, if he doesn't get that, I think it'll be because he's got lots of company, shall we say. Let's face it, Mike Vrabel made it very clear that he wants more turnovers than sacks. So that's the number because literally you're giving the ball right back to your team, your offense. So I think that's where we're going to have a chance maybe to see him have some company in the turnover area, similar to 2 years ago.
And see, with you saying that, that's why I'm going to go slightly under. I'm going to go 4. And again, it's to your point. He's not going to be doing it alone. Fulton's going to get his hands on some. I think McCreary's going to get his hands on 1 or 2. Farley's going to get his hands on it. Hooker too. And a lot of offenses, when you look at the defense, you're looking for 31. You're seeing where he is, so you know not to go in his direction because if Byard sees the ball, he's going to get his hands on it. He's going to put his hands on that football and get it. So I think the fact is, I think he'll be slightly under by 4. Again, I want it to be more than 5. I'm just saying objectively, I'm going with 4 with that right there. But I see some others are saying 4. 4 is so under because cornerbacks are gonna have something to prove. Mark Johnson said he wants 3 in this game. I think he said he wants 3 in the game against the Giants.
Save those for week
saying,
2.
see ball, get ball. I
Yeah.
get it. My man catching no balls. AZ Mix says 8. I like that. I like that. So let's keep going. We're going to quickly preview this game. And y'all make sure you get y'all questions in as well for the ladies as well. And we're going to get into the 4 points of victory. What I think is going to happen that the Titans can win this game. And I know, man, D said Miss Mims was talking about Stonehouse and Brett Kern. And here's the answer to that question. And ladies, feel free to help me out on this. They decided to go with the bigger leg, the younger leg. And even though they've kind of left the door open with Brett Kern, which I'm not really a fan of doing that because that's basically telling your new punter, okay, maybe we don't have as much faith in you as we initially thought. You screw up, we're bringing Kern back. So I'm not really a fan of that. But the question you have is, do you go 1 or 2 more years with Brett Kern? Or do you maybe have a guy that you have for the next 10 years? Because we remember 2019 where they had to go find some punters. They had one against Chicago. Then they go with the FedEx guy against Indy. We know what happened there. So that's why I think they went with Stonehouse. Younger leg, bigger leg, and that last preseason game showed he can do it under control. He ain't just booming it into the end zone. He had some inside the 10 and 15, and there were a couple more that would have been at like the 2 or 1 yard line, but the coverage didn't get there. Agree or disagree?
Completely agree. He's cheaper than Brett Kern, so he saves you money. He has incredible hang time, and he's showing that he can directional punt, use that sideline as an extra defender, and then, he is getting better. He's dialing in a little bit on those punts, and when you can sign somebody and have him under a cheap deal for the start. I mean, Brett Kern was one of the highest paid punters in the NFL because he was so good and a 3-time Pro Bowler. No. Considering you've got to get deals done with Jeffrey Simmons in the future and a few other guys, you save money where you can. And again, this takes care of a position potentially for a decade or so. It was a no-brainer, essentially.
I agree.
I'm in the same exact boat. I completely agree. I will say I took it personally, just emotionally, I took it hard. But I understand in the grand scheme of things that at the end of the day, it's a business. You'd rather be ahead of a potential injury than behind, because like you said, when we had to go out and scramble to find a punter, you really understood the importance. That piece to me is one of the most unsung important pieces of essentially a defense. Like Brett Kern objectively flip fields for us, field positions, and like running backs, we've also been spoiled with punters. It seems like just the longevity of the punters that we can gather here is something that's under that radar. Like, and I love those little things about the game, because we've literally had two punters over like the span of like 20 years, and you don't get that type of longevity in a position. And so I completely understand. I was at the Cardinals game to see Stonehouse in person and to see his control. Like, I knew at that game that it was his time, because the control was a big issue, or a big question mark, not issue, but big question mark going into that preseason game. And to see like his control in that game, I'm like, it was a beautiful punt, beautiful hang time. But to see him get it in the directional spots he needed to elevate that answer that question, I would take Stonehouse for the next, hopefully, cross your fingers, another decade where we can have that punter selection secured. And to your point earlier, Chris, I kind of disagree with the outlook of what they did with Brett. Brett has sound mind and body. He can make his choice at the end of the day, whether or not he moves on to go to another team or he chooses to stay in the area. You think a man who, I feel like he thought about his family, and he's built his entire life here. This is the only place that he knows, and so to kind of uproot that, some players, it maybe in their mind, money does talk, but this organization, and that speaks highly of the organization to me than it does discredit them, because I'm like, you have a person willing and wanting to stay in case something happens, rather than take money to, say, for example, go to the Bills, because that was a big rumor, rather than go to the Bills and play where he could be an automatic starter. So I think it says a lot more positively about our organization than it does negatively.
And keep this in mind. I haven't double checked it, so I'm not sure if it's changed. But if you sign a veteran and he's on your week 1 roster, then he gets the veterans minimum for the rest of the year. So let's just wait and see what happens with Brett after week 1 and see if maybe there's a call, a signing. So it just doesn't feel like that's completely done. Even as much as he said Nashville is his home. His son was 8 weeks old when he came here and claimed off the waivers, and watching him during training camp, tossing balls, at practice with his dad, it was so sweet to see. But that's the one thing. Time marches on, and the Titans chose to get younger.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the rumor was, of course, with him being from the Buffalo area, that's why I think a lot of people thought, oh, Buffalo is the perfect fit, which in the grand scheme of things, it would have been a nice fit, see him go for the ring and things like that. But it does speak highly of him and of the team. And so we're going to march on and actually get into the game, actually. But before we do that, if y'all want some TNT gear, definitely hit me up on my email at canewell817@gmail.com or any of the pages listed below. Also, you can hit up Miss Latoya Akinyemi at Queen Butterfly Tees on Instagram or queenbutterflytees@gmail.com. If you want to get a hat like the one that I have on, you can hit up my guy at Out the Crib Customs. That's on Instagram at out_the_crib_customs. And you could definitely get some of this TNT swag, like the hat that you see there, the shirts you see. Definitely like this hat that I have on right now. This hat and this shirt that I have on right now, you can also get that as well. Definitely get with me if you want some of this gear, and I will definitely make sure we help you do that. We will probably have some giveaways throughout the year, so I will definitely be hooking some people up with some gear. So, definitely subscribe, definitely like the show, and you tune in, you might be able to get some merchandise. So definitely get with me on that. In this game, let's get to that Blue Enforcers 4 points to victory. Number 1, we got the Giants coming in here. Got a lot of injury questions. We got a quarterback question with Daniel Jones. Can Saquon Barkley get back to his old self? Do they have an offensive line? And, that's going to be the main question. So what can the Titans do in this particular game to get this win over the Giants to start the season off right? First off, it's not let the big dog eat. It's let the king dog eat. Let him eat, and let him eat aplenty. Give that man the rock and let him lead you to the promised land. Derrick Henry can do his thing and can do it big. And I think he's going to have a good game to start off the year. I know in years past, he has started off slowly, but I think this year, coming off this injury, he's on a revenge tour. I think he's on a revenge tour. He probably feels a bit disrespected that people want to pass his crown off to Jonathan Taylor and want to talk about Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb and all those guys. And he's basically like, Y'all just gonna forget about me like that? Really? Like, okay, I got y'all on this. And I think he's gonna come back and not only take the crown, he's gonna snatch that crown and get back on that iron throne where he belongs. Y'all know I love that Game of Thrones reference right there. So that's one.
Well, Chris, I'm going to point out Derrick Henry had his worst rushing game last year in the opener, 58 yards. That was when Chandler Jones, just dominated against the Taylor Lewan in his first game back from the ACL, and he had 5 sacks himself and forced 2 fumbles. So I think that, and I agree with you. I think they want to help reestablish and remind everybody that we got Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's just fine. So I'm right there with you on that. I think that we'll see him run the ball. And he had 17 carries last year for 58 yards. I'm going to take it over on that.
I agree. I think he goes over 100, and I think he's gonna have a massive game to start off the year. I definitely agree. And Mark brought up a good point. We didn't talk about Chig very much. I hope to see a little bit of Chig in this game, slowly start to establish himself a little bit, this year as well. I think Hooper's going to get more attention, but I think Chig is going to get some love too from Tannehill. Steph, what are your thoughts about this? Let the king dog eat.
Oh, I'm 100% in accordance with that. I mean, like you said, and it also ties into Hooper and Chig. You brought in 2 really good potential blocking tight ends. Austin Hooper is he is massive. Like I didn't really take into consideration until I saw him at training camp just how big Austin Hooper is. And you still have, obviously you still have Jeff Swaim, and then you have your running backs and all that good stuff. But I am absolutely here to see Derrick Henry run. I think, when when the motto came out of "We Run It," they have wholeheartedly just taken what Henry does, this old school form of football, and has just they've embraced it. They're never going to shy away from it. And as long as Vrabel is standing back there coaching, they are not going to deviate from that Henry run, and I am all for it. I will happily sit back at the game and watch Derrick Henry thrash this entire defense. Obviously in my head, I would love to just go ahead and see a stiff arm out of the way, but that's just because I'm extra, and I would love to see a stiff arm for the first game of the year.
I should have put that on there.
Oh, the over
under 3 stiff arms this season.
I'm going over.
I might take the over.
I feel like he stiff arms one person a game. I feel like he's going to try to truck any and everybody. He's looking for contact.
Yes.
Obviously, I don't. There's always this back and forth with Derrick Henry of if he's looking for contact or not. He just outrun his contact. Like, let's just call it what it is. This man can outrun his contact. So I am so excited. I want him to. I'm not going to be upset if he gets 30 plus carries. I'm here for it.
Absolutely. And, Ms. Mims is saying, beat the crap out of them Giants. I agree with that. Man, these are saying, yes, the Cardinals game was painful, and it was. It was hot. It was muggy. And the Cardinals were beating the crap out of us. Triple whammy. Triple whammy. And that is something we do not want to experience again. Now, Mark brings up a good question. First play of the game, pass or run?
I like opening games with a pass. I love play action. And yeah, why not try something deep? If only to show we can do that. I mean, normally, if it were Racey McMath, I'd love to see something deep to him. But let's throw to Traylon Burks. That's how they opened the preseason game, right? They let Malik Willis throw to Traylon Burks and Robert Woods. Throw to them and back them up. We know that everybody comes into a game expecting Derrick Henry to get the ball. There ain't nothing wrong with using, airing it out a little bit and making them back that 8th or 9th guy away from the line.
For sure.
I agree.
I'm in agreement. I think it's a play action. That's my first guess because I feel like they're going to put Henry out there at the beginning. They're just going to be like the Giants are automatically going to assume that they're going to feed the crap out of him. But I 100% agree. Air it out. I'll be happy in that, especially in that first series, which to me is the most important series of the drive, this first opening series of the season. Definitely air that ball out, especially because you have Adoree Jackson in the secondary. And I feel like Ryan Tannehill is going to pick on him a little bit because we, as Titans fans, know that Adoree Jackson is, and he may have gotten a little bit better. I haven't watched that many Giants games to look, but we know what he was when he was here. And I feel like they'll use some of that and then the tape from last year to see kind of how he was. But pick on him. If you can size up Burks against Adoree, I'm taking Burks all day.
I agree. I
And
definitely
guys,
agree with that. And
Chris, Adoree Jackson and Robert Woods both went to the same high school in LA, or the LA area, excuse me. They trained some together during the off season out in Cali. If Robert Woods ends up on Adoree, I'm going to go with the veteran, no offense, against Adoree Jackson. Just saying.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree at all with that. And that brings me to my second point. Number 2, establish Burks and Hooper as go-to weapons. Get them going, and in that way, hey, Burks and Hooper could get the ball. And I'm going to throw Robert Woods in there too, because again, he's a volume guy. He's not a guy that you just need to go, a quick slant and he takes it 60 yards to the house. He's a guy, you get a catch, 9 yards. Later in the drive, another catch, 12 yards, first down. Another catch, maybe 6 or 7 yards, set you up, second or third is short. And then another, maybe touchdown, short in the end. That's what Robert Woods can do for you in an offense. He could have 70, 80, 90 catches, maybe under 1,000 yards, but you're getting him the ball in volume, and you're getting him where he keeps those chains moving. Burks could be your home run guy. Hooper can be your big play guy. And I think Hooper could be a top 5 tight end up there with Kelsey, with Kittle. I know Kyle Pitts from Atlanta might sneak his way up there too. And I like Kyle Pitts, by the way. But Austin Hooper could definitely get up there in that conversation as well. I think they established themselves as weapons. And I'm with Mandisa. I'm with the superstar on this one. One of the main keys for this whole season is Todd Downing. And Mandisa, please send me your information. I would love to have you on the show as well.
Oh, she loves her Titans football. I'm going to tell
She
you,
knows
we've had
it.
many a
I would love to have
conversation.
her on. That would
She
be
is absolutely incredible when it comes to talking Titans.
It would be a treat. It would be a treat if I could have you on, Miss Mandisa. Please, let's link up. Let's talk. I would love to have you on. But she is absolutely right. Todd Downing is going to be a major key. Can he be creative and not predictable? Because if
Chris, remember this. This is what we don't know because they were so vanilla in the preseason. They hired Tim Kelly, former Texans offensive coordinator, as passing game coordinator. So, that's the one thing we don't know. How is that going to affect things? How different do they look? And one thing I was looking up, the Titans did not do very well in the first quarter last year. They barely outscored opponents 61-56. And, that's the thing. It's really tough. And how many times did they not score at all in first quarters? So, that's that in the third quarter, 2 areas that they absolutely can start better with. And part of that is game planning, going into the game with your call sheet, what you're planning to call, and then adjustments at halftime coming into the third quarter.
Yeah. And I'll even go on that because I heard this with, I believe, Jared and Caroline. Let's go even further. First drives of games. Out of 18 games that they played last year, 13 times on the first drive, they ended up punting the football. I believe they only scored like maybe 10 points all year on their first drives. You're going to have to be able to start off games hot. You want to get a team behind 7-0 before they even take the field or take the field for their second possession. You want to get them behind and them chasing you, not you chasing them. Yeah, it's nice to get a field goal in the first drive, but you rather get 6. And that was a problem that the Titans definitely had, was those first drives and getting points in the very beginning.
I also think those points in the beginning just open up the offense even more, and it allows the defense to feel like they can go harder. For me, those points in the beginning just, it's saying, okay, we have to watch out, and I feel like it also helps them respect Ryan Tannehill a little bit more. Personally, teams, and that's just, it's from the outside looking in, they do not respect Ryan Tannehill. They're like, make us beat you with your arm, make us beat you in through the air. And I feel like if this whole team and him could start out with that opening drive, like, let's just smash mouth you in the face from the jump, and get you to back off of us a little bit, because once that passing game opens, that rushing game takes its toll, and then you have to go 4 quarters of Henry, Haskins, Hilliard, and then my favorite, which is Chestnut. I absolutely loved watching Chestnut over the preseason, and it'll be fun to see how he transforms, or if he gets that time on the field. Like, just to have them watch that. Like they said, yeah, we know you can run, but we just want to see that you can air out that ball and beat us there. And I feel like those first drive touchdowns set the tone for the rest of the game for sure.
Absolutely. And so, and that now goes to the other side of the ball quickly. Points number 3 and 4 go defense. Sacks by committee. We got to replace the production with Harold Landry. We need sacks. And that's going to come from Autry, from Simmons, from Walker, from Dupree, from Weaver, or Daney. At some point, they're going to probably call David Anini up at some point. We got Derek Tuchska from the practice squad from Pittsburgh. All these guys are going to help collecting sacks. And so I think sacks by committee is going to be extremely important. And number 4, to end all of this, I just want to see Caleb Farley make some type of impact. He's got to make some type of impact in this game, in this season, and get his hands on a ball or two and show that elite athleticism that I believe he has, and make some type of impact, because we know what Fulton can do. Everybody's talking big about Roger McCreary. I need something with Caleb Farley, because I believe in him, even though others don't. But I need to see that with him. So, ladies, right quick, before we get to our predictions to end everything, what do y'all think of those?
I think Farley's going to have an impact. I mean, let's face it, they need, in today's NFL, you have to have 3 cornerbacks on the field. So while right now that unofficial depth chart has Roger McCreary as a starter, don't be surprised if there's going to be games where all 3 of them are out there together. And and don't be too worried about the sack numbers. I'm going to go back to what Mike Vrabel said. Turnovers, the takeaway giveaway ratio, being plus, that is going to matter almost more than the sacks, because if they're getting there and they're pressuring that quarterback to get rid of the ball faster than he wants to, it may not be a sack, but if it ends up being a batted pass or an interception, those will count just as much, if not more, than getting a sack.
Absolutely.
And I just have 2 things just to add. One, along with the pressures that Miss Teresa was talking about, keeping Daniel Jones contained, keep him in front of you. He has a ability to get out of the pocket, and something that doesn't get brought up enough. Like Tannehill has wheels, Daniel Jones will extend plays with his legs. So it's just keeping the ball in front of you, keeping Daniel Jones in front of you. He does get flustered easily. So those pressures can turn into interceptions or even a fumble real quick from him, because he's still learning. He's still, this is what, 2nd year in the league. He's not, he hasn't been here that long. He's still fresh. So definitely for me, it's keeping Daniel Jones contained, keep him in the pocket, bring that pressure. And I think that will open up everything else. Also, because it it tightens him up. You have Saquon and he's back there. You're always going to have to worry about Saquon because he's a built-in runner. But I feel like just keeping Daniel Jones where you can see him at all times is very important. And then last but not least is just, and they're not going to do this, but for me, it's just do not sleep or undersell going against the Giants in a home opener. We're all 0-0. We're all starting off the year brand new. We're all fighting for the same thing, for a Super Bowl. Do not sleep on the Giants. Do not go in thinking this is an automatic W. They want this win and to mess up our home opener just as bad as we want to win our home opener. So those are my only two keys.
Yep.
You're absolutely right, Miss Stephanie. They've got a first-time coach making his debut in Brian Dable, and of course they want to get a win. So, yeah, they're not rolling over for anybody.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and with us being, we were the number 1 seed last year, we're not going to surprise anybody anymore.
Mm-mm.
They're going to give us their best shot. And so I definitely agree with that. And that leads me to finally the moment of truth. Who wins this game? Titans or Giants? Miss Teresa, I know you have to run in a bit. So what is your prediction and where can everybody find you and your great content?
2 places for the content. You can follow me on Twitter at Teresa M. Walker. You can also download, it's free, the AP News app. Go to your app store, AP News, and just put it in there and you can localize and get the Tennessee Wire. Just hit a button and say localize. It'll give you everything Tennessee. It'll give you all the sports. And I'm taking Titans in this game. I'm thinking Titans 24-10 at this point. And, this is a game that they should win. And after last year's win, where Mike Vrabel said, we just got beat, I don't expect a similar performance this time around.
All right. And Ms. Teresa, thank you so much for tuning in and being here. And it's always an honor to have you on. I know I had you on probably a little bit longer than we wanted to do, but I definitely do appreciate you being here. You always save my neck.
I appreciate you asking me, Chris. So much of a pleasure to meet you, Miss Stephanie. I'm going to have to log out because I still have some more work to do to get ready for this game this week.
Oh, absolutely. Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. I definitely appreciate you being on.
Thank y'all. Y'all take care.
You too. And that is Miss Teresa Walker from the Associated Press, as in Mike Vrabel's first question. So I definitely appreciate that. Stephanie, what is your thought and prediction?
My prediction is going to be the Titans. I feel like this game, in my head, I'm seeing 28. I have like 28-30, but the Giants will have about, I'll say 14. I'll go 14 because I feel like you said, I feel like they want to come out. The way that last season ended, they want to come out and just punch somebody in the mouth. They want to establish their home turf early in the season. And I think them knowing that they want to establish that win and establish that home field advantage from the jump is just going to put even more of an importance on how this game will go for them.
Absolutely. And we see some people are weighing in. Shane is saying 28-10. Let's see. Drumstar is saying 38-13. And you know what? I think I'm going to make this unanimous. Moment of truth. Titans win.
We were close.
27-13.
We were close.
I think the Giants are going to try to slow this game down. But I think at the end, I think the Titans pull away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Titans win this game 27-13 to kick this year off right and get to 1-0. And that's what you want to do each and every week. 1-0. That's what you want. And so I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Mark says 35-0.
I would love a shutout. I mean, the last time we faced them, it was a shutout in New York. So that would be absolutely
that is
great.
true.
But
that is true.
I would love to, I feel like they're going to get a couple. Oh, yeah. I feel like they're going to get a couple of field goals and in a touchdown. I just, that's just one thing about Titans football. They love to keep it close, but like you said, pull away at the end. So it's just kind of one of those things where, where your expectations are in your head. I would love to see a shutout though. A shutout.
And speaking of which, I need to make sure I have my blood pressure medication refilled often, because the Titans do that to us.
Mm-hmm.
They give us blood pressure, get it all up high. So gotta have my blood pressure meds up. So that's what I think about that. But now everybody, I want Stephanie to hear this because I'm gonna wrap up the show.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I usually do this at the end of the month, because of some things that's been going on in social media with me, I think I'm going to do a very special edition of Shut Your Pie Hole. And I have to do it because I'm going to put up the object in question right here. That was a picture of me on Sunday. I'm at Dave & Buster's. I'm watching some wrestling, and I'm throwing up the NWO sign because I'm a wrestling fan. And so I like wrestling. I'm throwing up the NWO sign. I know there are probably some of my Sigma brothers wondering why am I throwing up the Zeta sign. I'm like, no, it's NWO. But that wasn't really what everybody was clowning me about.
Not at all.
Everybody was clowning me about the San Francisco hat that I have on my head.
Absolutely.
So I hope people like my guy Dell, Jerome, Jeremy, all of y'all, JoJo, all of y'all that commented on that post. And don't get me wrong, I love y'all. I thank y'all for supporting me. Y'all are my peoples. But I'm going to tell each and every one of y'all that decided to go against me on that, shut your freaking pie hole on that. I've been waiting to go off on this for 3 days, and I'm finna let it out. Let me tell y'all something right here and now. 2 reasons I wore that San Francisco hat. 1, it matched the color scheme I was wearing. I was wearing some red and black, and I thought the red would go with it. And, I had some red and black shoes on too. And so I was like, I'm matching the shirt. That is why I wore that particular hat. Now, I probably could have worn my Atlanta Hawks hat too, but we're not going to go into that. The second part, and some of y'all actually know this, is that I do it in dedication to my late father, Donald Newell, who passed away when I was 12. Rest in peace, Donald Howard Newell, best pops around. He was a big 49ers fan. So I sometimes have him as my second team, for him. That's why. And for all of y'all to question my loyalty, you dare question my loyalty. You dare question I'm with the Titans or not. Shut your pie hole. And I say that with love in my heart. I love each and every one of y'all, but shut your pie hole. I am Titans through and through. I will always be that. Y'all see this stuff behind me? You see this on my head? I am a Titan to the core. I will never, ever change that. And Ms. Mims, I know you didn't say anything. I'm talking about people that did. Okay? So I'm talking about people that did. Because there was a lot of people that commented about that picture. And once again, I'm going to put it up for I'm going to take some people off for everybody's enjoyment. I will hash on myself a little bit. I was having a good time that night. Was sitting back, having some food, drinking, watching some wrestling. And then everybody just a lot of people decided to put their 2 cents in. Ain't that beautiful? And look at Mark. Niners and truth. Oh my God. See,
Oh
this
my
is
goodness.
why I can't stand some of y'all right now. So stop it. Stephanie, any thoughts on what I just said?
Well, in respects to your father, I can completely understand. You have a piece of him with you at all times, and I absolutely respect it from that regards. But it's just because of I crack up because you saw the red with the color scheme, and that you didn't really notice. You didn't really, that filter was on the fact that it was the San Francisco logo, and so it was just like, at that point you're like, no, it goes with my clothes. It's not necessarily because of that, but obviously as Titans fans, the first thing we're gonna do is just pick fun at the fact that you have that hat. Now, will I ever question your loyalty? Probably not. That's not gonna go. But I will take a funny jab at what was with the hat, like what's with the hat, but I will never question your loyalty to the team ever.
I appreciate that, and I don't think anybody else would either. I figured there a lot of
Yeah,
people were just taking some
but oh
friendly
yeah,
jabs at
the
me,
hat was
so
going
I
down.
decided I'm going to take some jabs
Out,
back at people. I
absolutely.
was going to I had to get a little bit out there
Get
with
that out
that.
there.
So
That's fair.
yes, I love each and every one of y'all.
It was
Y'all
all with love.
understand me.
It was
I
all with
love
love.
each and every one of y'all. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. But y'all just have to know, if y'all gonna take some friendly jabs at me, I'm gonna bring some jabs right back. I got to come back on you. I have to do it. That's just how I am. That is how I'm built. And then here comes Kent, undercover San Francisco 49er fan. Kent, don't do that. Don't do that, dude. Don't do that. No.
Maybe he has the end to
No.
get George Kittle to come visit.
Right. And I'm trying to help him out. And Shay said, "Why you got the hat on, Chris?" Like Smokey. So anyway, Stephanie, before we get out of here, where can everybody find you everywhere?
Well, it's Stephanie P. So the name that's spelled on the screen, STEPHANIP 96 at twitter.com. I do have a Ladies of Titans football page at Ladies of TT on Twitter, as well as Ladies of Titans football on Facebook. There's a Facebook group. Any ladies would love to join that. I'm very social. I talk to any and everybody, no matter where you may come from, who you may support. I'm all for fandom and empowerment, especially for women in this sport. And so it was an absolute honor, like I said, when I was invited. And then when I realized, when I put two and two together and you said Teresa, and I was just like, I'm in the midst of royalty in Titans Nation between her and then Caroline from 102. It's just been an incredible show. And I'm so blessed that you thought of me so highly to bring me in with these incredible ladies tonight.
Absolutely.
Chris, so
Absolutely. And I definitely do appreciate you coming on as well. And everybody, I thank everybody for tuning in as well. We will definitely have a post game on Monday. We'll definitely have a post game on that when I get back from Nashville. And tune into the Truth League report as well, because I am going to be previewing the NFC East, the AFC West, and the NFC West. I'm going to preview those divisions. And I'm also going to do a quick pick of the Rams and Bills as they start tomorrow night. The Rams are a 2.5-point dog, if I'm not mistaken. I'm taking the Rams. I'm taking the Rams plus 2.5. I think they get it done at home. First game since the Super Bowl, even though it is the Bills and Von Miller's coming back, I'm taking the Rams. I think the Rams are going to do it, and that's why I'm putting some money on that. Stephanie, where you going with that too? Because I know you like to do some betting.
I love to do betting. However, part of me is staying away from the yay. Thank you, Mandisa. I love it.
Yes, Mandisa, please send me your information because I would definitely love to have you on this show. It is an honor. I am so glad you were able to watch, and thank you for watching.
I am actually going to stay away from the money and the run line only because it is the first game of the season where I'm line as player props and anytime touchdowns. I do believe that the Bills I just feel like they're really stout on all sides. I feel like the Rams defense is going to give the Bills offense some fits. My biggest question for the entire game is how is Matt Stafford going to do? Because he had an incredible season last year. Can he replicate that? Or will he get flustered? When Matt Stafford gets flustered, he starts throwing interceptions. We saw that with the Titans. He started getting flustered and the interceptions comes in droves. That's my other big key is watching Matt Stafford. So if for a moment, if you want to take a couple bets, take a swing at Matt Stafford's interceptions, maybe kind of take a look at that. Josh Allen's rushing yards, because Josh Allen loves to run out of the pocket. He's a big 6'6" quarterback. You can't get him down. He will run and extend plays with his legs. So his rushing yards. And then also something personally that I have a bet on. Like I said, other than that, I do think the Bills come in and take care of business, and it's going to be close. I think the game is definitely going to be close. I just think the Bills might edge it out in the long run. Trying to figure out how Tre'Davious White is going to affect them not being on the defense for the first 4 games of the season. When he was out last year, their defense kind of dropped when he was out. So it's something to definitely for the Rams to take advantage on. But just a few props I was looking at. Oh, last but not least, Dawson Knox anytime touchdown. He just signed a 4-year extension with the team. He's his, to be honest, before Dawson Knox got injured last year, he was he won the first anytime touchdown in many of the games that he was in. He targets Dawson Knox in the end zone. That's his safety. That's his security blanket. And I think I saw it plus 170 on DraftKings. Take it there.
All right. Well, there it is right there. But everybody, I think that's going to just about do it. I thank everybody for tuning in. Ms. Mims, all the guys, having 2 legends with Miss Teresa, Stephanie, Caroline. We had Mandisa listening to the show. I feel special. I don't know if anything can outdo it. I appreciate everybody sticking with me for these 2 hours. I know I done talked everybody's head off, and we have, but it's fun. And we're going to say good night. And everybody, tighten up, because that's all we know how to do. Good night, y'all.
Good night. Thanks, guys. Thank you.